Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Solutions, Not Just Problems. We are your hosts, Vanessa K. and Be Real. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about DEI, and we're going to get into some of the cons that DEI presents. DEI, one of them is DEI can be discriminatory against non-preferred groups. So critics contend the DEI policies by favoring candidates based on race, gender, or other physical attributes can result in discrimination against others who may be equally or more qualified. This can limit access to top talent and lead to costly lawsuits and bad publicity for companies. Okay. My opinion, DEI is doing what it's supposed to do. The issue isn't with DEI, it's with the employers. You know, if employers were focused on skill set, innovation, work ethic, and not physical attributes, then we wouldn't have a need for DEI, right? I mean, is it just me or am I missing something here?
No, you're 100%. At the end of the day, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about earlier too, comes out in the corporate culture, or the culture or whatever um, group or organization you're trying to affiliate yourself with. And this is why, like, when I choose a job, like if I was to go look for a job right now, I want to know about the corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody focuses on what the money situation
Right.
should be. You know
Right.
what I mean? But what you really need to be looking at is this a good fit for you culturally?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's a good fit for you culturally, then chances are they're probably going to hire you based on merit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the DEI thing is going to go away. The
Right.
problem that we have is most companies don't think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Most companies want people who basically are able to fit in to their culture. Okay. Which means that it may be something that doesn't necessarily suit the people that we're talking about, this DEI group,
Right.
the culture doesn't match up with that particular group.
Right.
Okay. Because the culture that we're looking for thinks like us, acts like us, went to the same schools, you know what I mean? Lived in the same neighborhood. I know them by first and last name. Maybe we hung out together. So if you don't have DEI, and there's no diversity, equity, inclusion because we don't want to just make it so there's just DEI. There's actually a name behind it. But if there is no diversity, equity, and inclusion, how do you get to the point where you're no longer discriminating? How do you get to the point where you have people that don't look like you,
Right.
who don't think like you? But how do you get to that point?
Mm-hmm. How does
To
the
where you,
woman get to pay doing the same job as the man how does she get to the point where she gets equal pay?
ooh, that's a whole different topic.
Right?
That's a
And
whole
this is
different
all
topic.
embedded in there. This
That's
is
that's
all, you know.
that's a whole different topic. I'm not even gonna touch that one.
Uh-huh.
But because there's two sides to that story too, you know, um, meaning that yeah, there's some truth to it, but at the same time, a lot of it has to do with experience, knowledge, talent, how long you've been on the job, and I'll tell you one of the things that women are discriminated against when it comes to that is the fact that a lot of companies are afraid, is she going to get pregnant? Is she going to have family leave? Is she going to be dealing with
Mm-hmm.
issues that women who have children, you know, have that a man won't?
Right.
So she might not be able to put in. So there's a little bit
And
more
you know
that,
how stupid that sounds? Because you know how
huh?
many women are doing it, are working with children, doing the thing, right? I mean, I was one of them.
Well,
I was a full-time worker, there every day, reliable. I mean, women do it. So that notion right there doesn't fly with me.
and I get you, but this goes back to company culture,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because if the company culture is that I have to be sensitive that this person is a human being, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and not just a commodity or an object. Now I'm looking at it like, okay, they're going to need time off. They're going to have doctor's appointments. They're going to want to take vacation. Their kids are going to get sick. Women are going to get pregnant. The man may want to stay at home and spend time with his child. Okay, all this needs to be built into the
Or
culture.
see his child birthed, like where they just came up with paternity not too long ago, right?
Yeah, all this needs to be built into the culture. So when you go look for a job, before you go get that job, see how, talk to people that work for the company,
Hmm.
you know, and talk to all different types of people and find out, say, hey, what is the situation if my wife would go, oh, well, if your wife gets pregnant, they'll look to get rid of you around here. Really?
And I've seen that. I'm not going to even mention the names, but at one place where I worked, um, a woman got pregnant, but she still wanted to work. She wanted her job, but she came and said, "I can only work half part-time now because now I got 3 kids as opposed to 2." But guess what the job did? There was another woman in the same boat, and they created one position for both of them. It was called a job share, right? They both got 20 hours. They created that win-win. As a result of that, them women were so loyal. They did more work, pushed out more work in a day than a 40-hour worker, right?
Wow.
Now let's flip over to the other side. I'm sitting at my desk and working from home was starting to become the big thing. And they were allowing us to, put a percentage of people in the department. I don't know why. We were all IT. We all should have been able to be work from home. But here's what I heard. I'm listening to the manager say, "Yeah, those with children won't qualify."
Mm.
Now, is that not discriminatory enough?
Oh man, that's a lawsuit right there.
Mhm.
So now if you have children, and that's something that I've never really thought about, and that's mainly because
Mhm.
I have an older child, an older daughter, you know what I'm saying? But now that you're saying this, that's crazy.
It is.
That's
That's
crazy to
what
think that
goes
if you
on.
had young children right now, that
Right.
you could be penalized based on the fact that you
You're
decided
not
you're
going to be
not finished.
included in that number because when you work from home, you're going to be too distracted and you're not going to be productive.
Wow.
When COVID hit, the numbers of production went up with people working from home. So that took that whole notion and threw it out.
Wow.
Emphasis on physical diversity over diversity of thought. Okay, so here's another con. DEI programs often prioritize visible diversity, such as race and gender, rather than diversity in ideas, cultural, socioeconomics, backgrounds, or experience. This focus on appearance may yield little actual benefit in innovation or problem solving within the organizations.
I mean, there's some truth to that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're basing it just on, and let me back this up. First of all, I don't think there's a company in the world that's hiring somebody who is totally inexperienced, you know what I mean, doesn't have the education, doesn't have the knowledge, and they're hiring him just because of their race, gender, you know, um, socioeconomic, um, uh, sexual preference, whatever the case might be. I don't think there's a company in the world that's saying, well, we're just going to hire someone based on that, but you have no experience, no education, no training in this area. So I think that's kind of ridiculous to think that um, someone who thinks that people are being hired just because they look a certain way, you
Well,
know?
I think what this is saying is they're not being hired because they look a certain way. And that's what the DEI program is emphasizing because they have to. That's the issue.
Well,
People are not being hired because they look a certain way.
yeah,
Um,
which is so let's put it in perspective, okay? Let's keep it 100. I'm a white guy, right? And I
mhm.
feel like I'm not being hired because I'm a white guy.
No, I think it's the other way around. That's
No,
what
that's
they're putting
that's
the emphasis on.
that's basically what they're saying. That basically they're saying that they feel like they're being discriminated against because they don't look a certain way. That's their argument against DEI.
Right, right. They don't look, and they're talking about race, disabilities,
Yes.
somebody with a disability, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is DEI, again, is doing what it's supposed to do, right? It's trying to correct this problem. The emphasis is not on problem solving and innovation because that's the employer's task. That's what they should be. Businesses should be hiring on, right? Hiring the skill set, the innovation, the problem solving. I think DEI is saying, this is why we're making this a priority because
Who?
you're focused on the race. You're
Absolutely.
focused on the socioeconomic backgrounds and all of that, and not really merit, like you said, or talent.
Absolutely. I guess my point was, Vanessa, is that what we're talking about in this particular section are those who are against DEI and the
Mhm.
negatives of DEI.
Right,
So, with that, these folks are basically saying, because I don't look like this, because I don't have this disability, because I'm not a male or female
right,
LGBTQ, I'm being discriminated against.
right,
Okay? And you see how you laughed at that?
right.
Like really?
You're the one that's been eating the cake all the time,
But
right?
this is their argument, though.
Yep.
I'm being like, case in point, the $300,000, 300,000 jobs that were lost,
Hmm.
okay, by Black women in
Right.
America. A lot of people, if you go into the comments, I don't know if you just look at the video or whatever, look at the comments and
Hmm.
look at people that say, good. I'm sick of going into Chicago or Atlanta and there's all these Black women, who are doing these jobs. You know what I mean? And there's nobody in here. I'm telling you,
Woo!
this is what I'm saying. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy but we need to talk about this. We can't shy away from things that are out there. But you've got some people that really looked at it like, and then you've got people that say, well, I've got all these credentials and I applied for this job and I didn't even get an interview. Never mind get hired.
Right.
And I'm talking about these are white individuals.
Hmm.
Because
Yep.
let's be honest, this is what this is all about. Let's
Hmm.
keep this 100.
Yep.
This has to do with white and other.
Hmm.
Because if we were all white, there'd be no need for DEI.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not trying to be racist here, but I'm simply saying that when it comes to DEI, we're talking about the others.
Hmm.
Oh, by the way, also white women, okay,
Hmm.
because they're included in that DEI number as well. So it's not just a racial thing. However, so we're going to say it's basically white men, okay, and maybe some white women who have an issue with this. Because
Hmm.
I've never come across any Black person that has a problem with diversity, equity, and inclusion, or
Right.
Hispanic, or Asian. I've
Right.
never come across anybody that says, why should we have diversity? Why should we have equity? Why should we have inclusion? Really?
Because we're the ones striving for it on the other end. We're all the ones striving for
Yes.
it.
Because we're fighting for a seat at the table.
Yep. Yep.
And,
Yep.
and and if you're against it, then you're basically telling me, and if this is not true, please in the comments let me know. If this is not true, the only reason why you're against diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay, is because you don't want diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's
Mhm.
stop with the DEI and call it what it is.
Right.
You know, it's like with this whole woke thing. Let's stop with what woke is and call it what it is.
Hmm.
No, don't cut out these little cute names. Let's
Right.
call it what it is.
Right.
You don't want people who look a certain way, who live in a certain neighborhood, who come from a certain school, who's a certain gender, blah, 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 to be invited to the party.
It's sad.
You
It's
know what
sad.
I'm
I'm
saying?
laughing, but it's sad, right?
That's what it is. I mean, if
Uh-huh.
that's not the case, then you tell me what your objection is to DEI in the comments. I'd love to hear it.
Here's another con. DEI reduces the talent pool and therefore may decrease performance. So critics contend that diversity, equality, and inclusion policies, by favoring candidates based on race, gender, or other physical attributes, can result in discrimination against others who may be equally or more qualified. This can limit access to top talent and lead to costly lawsuits and bad publicity for companies.
Okay, let's assume that that's true. No, let's assume that's true, right? We're probably looking at less than 5%.
Right.
So you got the other 95, okay? You got the other 95, but you want a slice of the 5% pie too?
Hmm.
So it's not enough for you to have 95% of the pie. Now you need the other 5%. And how come I'm not included in that? Because I don't know of any job where people are favored based on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and weren't qualified for the position, or
Mhm.
to the point where they're decreasing the talent pool.
Right.
Okay, so you're simply saying this is how idiotic this is.
Let me ask you just one question. Did
Yes,
Walmart lose business when they created that model and started hiring disabled people?
of course not.
It increased, didn't it?
Of course it did. Of course it did. But you know something? As long as corporate America can benefit from it, then they're all for it.
Hmm.
What's happening is once they're seeing the backlash, like Target, who lost, I believe, and don't get me quoted on it because the numbers change. I think it's 28%.
Hmm.
28% of their share, I don't know if it was shareholders or profit, but it was one of the two. Okay.
23% drop in stock values over five
Okay.
years. Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. I saw a 28% number too, and I don't know if that was the overall profit since the beginning of the year or whatever the case might have been, you know. But I remember seeing that number. And as a result, the CEO, um, and repeat this, the CEO resigned, okay, but he's not leaving till next year, okay? So you have the opportunity to step down from a job. You're probably going to be paid handsomely after leaving, okay? You're going to get one of those golden parachutes or whatever the case might be, you know? You leave the company in terrible standing. But as a result, you're being compensated for that?
Hmm. I was going to say, like that the stocks were down, mishandling of inventory, and I mean, there was a bunch of stuff there.
And I'm gonna tell you, this is all based on basically there's a pastor in Atlanta, I believe his name was Pastor Bryant, okay,
Hmm.
who headed this whole thing up, this boycott of Target, okay? And he's a black pastor in Atlanta. I believe it's Pastor Bryant. And basically he said we shouldn't be spending money with Target if they go away from these diversity, equity, inclusion policies, okay, in terms of hiring, in terms of promoting, and what have you. And as a result, this is what happened, okay? So, people out there, what we need to start doing is understanding where we're putting our money,
Right.
okay? If we want to make it so that we have diversity, equity, inclusion, the only way we're going to get around this is if we start spending our money with people that are about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay.
Absolutely.
And we penalize those that are not.
That's right. That's right. And with that said, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Dreaming of a new beginning? Finding the perfect place or getting your home sold at the right price can feel overwhelming. Call Vanessa Kay, your local real estate expert. Understanding that buying or selling a home is a big decision, she'll guide you through every step, from finding the home suited for you or advising on how to price your home to negotiating the best deal. And it all starts with a free consultation. Why not schedule yours today? Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about DEI, and we're on the cons of DEI, what critics say are the cons of DEI. DEI initiatives can be divisive and harm workplace morale. Okay. Preferential treatment based on physical attributes may foster envy, distrust, and resentment among employees. This division hinders collaboration, lowering organizational morale and effectiveness. Okay, this is the one that stirred me up because I'm like, it's time for, if this is really an issue, it's time for America to grow up. I mean, we sound like we're in the third grade. My solution, fire the third grader then. If they have these issues going into because someone with maybe like a disability, needs a chair or a special treatment, and we're getting upset over that, where it's causing envy and distrust and resentment, then quit the job. They don't belong on the job. That's my opinion. It's time for us to grow up and start treating people like human beings.
Or the woman who may be pregnant, and needs an
Right.
extra pillow, you know, or maybe she's able to come in a little bit later because she has a doctor appointment and she's kind of making it up on the back end, or let's say you got into an accident, or you were out there playing ball one day and you had a torn ligament in your leg, you
Right.
know, and you were told, hey, you can stay at home as a result of that. Eh, Are you going to say, oh, you're giving this person preferential treatment?
Right.
I mean,
Grow
as,
up.
as long as it's available to anybody, depending on what your circumstances are,
Right.
you know what I mean? Then there's no preferential treatment. Preferential treatment is when you say this person can do it and that person cannot,
Can't. Right.
you know?
Exactly.
So we have to say, unless everybody is able-bodied, fully healthy, not pregnant, no ailments, no disease, nothing, unless they come in with a clean bill of health, you know what I mean? Mentally, everything, those people shouldn't be hired.
Right.
We have no workforce,
That's right.
you know?
Hmm.
So it's yeah, I agree with you. This one here is kind of ridiculous.
Right.
But this is also something that, people object to. They have a problem with some of this stuff. They have a problem with people who what they perceive to be getting preferential treatment because of a physical ailment, or maybe they're dealing with some kind of a disability, or
Right.
whatever the case might be. And it's like, wow, so you're going to make a big stink about it simply because you're not benefiting from it.
Exactly.
My question to you is, would you make a stink about it if you were benefiting from it? Would you
Right.
sit there and say, why are you giving me preferential treatment? I don't need to be able to have access to this ramp over here.
Right.
I don't need this extra pillow. Why are you giving that to me? Why are you letting me work at home? You know what I mean? You're giving me preferential treatment. I've never heard anybody say that,
Right.
So I think we're some of the biggest hypocrites, when it comes to others and other people. But if it was us, our family, our community, our situation, we would think differently,
Right.
you know? And I want to step into something real quick before we
Okay.
wrap this up. It's the situation that's going on in DC, right? And everybody's saying, oh, they're there to stop crime, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's assume that's true. All right. What happens when they come to the suburbs and they come to your neighborhood? Okay. And now they're starting to pull over your kids, and they're starting to throw them to the ground and ask them questions and going in their pockets and taking them to jail. Okay. Now let's see if they decide to do that. Okay. I don't want to hear anybody in the comments saying anything about, oh, this is a disgrace. I can't believe they're coming out, blah, blah, blah. Because it was okay when you was doing it to them, to the
Mhm.
others. But once it hits home, it was just like what we talked about when we were talking about the money series, and we were talking about how people were able to get the PPP loans, okay?
Mhm.
And how America should not be helping out, and you should be able to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps until it impacted your business.
Right. Right.
Until you started losing money and you were about to go bankrupt and you were getting closed down. Guess who was the first person to put in that application and take that education money?
Hmm.
I'm waiting for someone to come in the comments with this. I've been waiting for this
Yep. Yeah, and that happens all the time, right?
all the time.
Until it happens to, you'll see
Until,
stuff go on and go on unattended, and it
yes,
just keeps going until
yes,
it affects one group.
yes,
And now
yes,
they're going to do something about it, right?
yes.
Now we're going to, oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, we're going to wrap this up. In summary, DEI initiatives generally aim to create fairer, more inclusive workspaces and have demonstrated benefits in employee experience and business strategies. However, challenges remain around the effectiveness, perception, resource use, and political polarization, leading to ongoing debate about their role and impact in organizations. Be real, what are your final thoughts on diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Boy, this is a heavy topic, and we're gonna have to edit some of this stuff out.
We're gonna have to do a part two as well.
Oh, this is we've been on this for over an hour. Okay, we started this at about a quarter past two.
That's right. That's right.
2:30, 2:30. It's going on 4 o'clock.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we've got quite a bit here. We're probably gonna have to break this up into two to actually three parts, because the
Yep.
first part is going to be us just talking about what the series is going to be about.
Exactly.
A short clip that comes out on Thursday. But next week, we might want to break this up into maybe two, 30-minute part one and part two.
Yeah.
You have the first half with the positive and the second half with the negatives,
Yep.
and then kind of join the two together. So, but
Exactly.
boy, this was something that was interesting to me. It was one of the most interesting topics we've talked about. I've got it in my top three, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it's gonna get better. This one's a hot one.
And I apologize for me being a little long-winded at times. Vanessa's usually right on point. She gets right to the point. She's really succinct, and I can sometimes be a little bit, chatty a little bit. But
Okay, B. We've
it was,
grown to we've grown to understand you and
yeah,
accept you.
but
It's
when I'm
okay, B.
passionate, when I'm passionate about something, Vanessa, it's very hard for me to hold back and not give you, my thoughts on it. And I know that a lot of what I'm thinking, and what we're saying, okay, is how people feel.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we're necessarily right about everything, but I'm challenging you to go into the comments and tell me otherwise.
Yes, give us some feedback. Let's
Yes,
have that
yes.
conversation. Let's start
And,
that right here on this show.
and I especially want it from the people who think differently than what we think.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we have to this having this open dialogue and having these discussions, okay, are going to move us forward. As a country, as a community, as people, as families. But if we just sit there and was like, oh, I'm just going to go to work and come home, and it's no, that's not living. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Companies not treating us the way we need to be treated. Let's go after them. You know,
That's right.
we're living in a culture right now where a lot of stuff may be out of your control, you know, but the things that we can control, I think we need to step in and let our voices be heard. That's just my opinion.
That's right. And that with that, we are going to end this show. To all our amazing listeners, we want to thank you for staying tuned in with us. This is Vanessa K and Be Real signing off. Until next time, keep growing, stay motivated, and thank you for tuning in.
Peace.
Viewers, fed up with the constant stream of problems on social media without any real solutions? Check out the Solutions Not Just Problems podcast. They cover everything from relationships to current events, trending topics, business, professional development, and much more. They talk about us. Tune into the SNJP podcast Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. with co-hosts Vanessa K and B Money on YouTube. If you have something you want to talk about, they want to hear from you. So connect with Vanessa K or B Money today. And if you enjoy the show, be sure to subscribe and share.